Hignet's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be! Dack's corner, and it goes. Glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans. That will teach us for being positive today. As expecting to be on here talking about Rovers getting the job done, getting that win, the first win in 6 games. But alas, it's not worked out that way. And we join another post-match live stream feeling very, very deflated and probably asking some more, direct questions now about what next. Do we replace the manager now? Do we replace him next season? I can tell you that there is a split in the camp at Rovers Chat and on this panel about what we do next, which you'll hear from Jonathan, Alex, myself and Glenn over the course of the show. But desperately disappointing result for Rovers, especially the second half performance. Not one that inspired any kind of confidence or whatever, particularly after Mowbray's press conference yesterday, where it felt like the tide was going to turn and things were going to change. So, yeah, what do we do next? Let us know in the comments, Rovers fans. It's a really disappointing result for us again. As you can see, joined by Jonathan, Glenn and Alex on the post-match stream. We will do things as we always do on Rovers Chat. We will try and weigh everything up, see where we go, see what we do, try and cut through the emotion and just give a really balanced view and see what Rovers do next. But this one hurt. It hurt me a lot. I've just done the watch along and, feeling quite angry about that, actually. So looking for everyone to help me as well with some group therapy as well. I'm going to focus on some positives, though, just at the start. For those of you that did join us on the watch along, we've got a little montage here that we've got. This is all of you enjoying the Rovers game and the watch along with us this afternoon. That's really great to see. We're not paid professionals. We're not Sky Sports. We're not the EFL iFollow service or whatever. So those of you that did join us and do the watch along and watch the game, we're really humbled by you doing that. Actually, we've really enjoyed doing these watch alongs these last 6 games, even though the results haven't been positive. And it was another great, enjoyable one today as well. So thank you for those of you that did join us. And we've got the little fans wall going as well for those of you that did do the super chat and contribute to the Rovers Chat site again. FM Works, Ben the Boss, Michael Pearson, RJ, who did a little placeholder donation and then said if Ben Brereton scores, it's £5 for every time he does. So RJ came in with a second donation there. And then Callum Robinson right at the start of our stream as well with a donation. Thank you all for your support to the Rovers Chat site. We love bringing you the content. We love doing this stuff. Even when the results aren't good, we absolutely do this for the pure love of Rovers and engaging with you all during this pandemic world. So thank you all for your support. If you're not subscribed to the Rovers Chat YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that bell notification button as well so you get all notifications of when we go live. And of course, please do give this video and all of our videos a very big like, because that's the only positivity we've got today. So hit that thumb button, hit that like button, and keep supporting our channel in the way that you do. Before we have our group therapy session, though, we are, of course, sponsored by 6yardsout.com. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below. Thank you to 6yardsout.com for their very, very kind sponsorship all season. Before I come to the guys on the panel, I am just going to go into the comments just to sum up what's going on out there with you guys and how you're feeling after that game. Michael, you were first in. Michael Sandbach. What do you reckon the odds are for a club statement by Monday? Michael Pearson, look how united we all were before the game, praising TM, then game day comes and we were a disgrace. I think that's why I'm feeling quite hurt by that one, Michael, as well, because everything felt right to get the result today. Oliver Hayworth, Numan Ali, TM won't walk and Venky's won't sack him. Get used to it, lads. We'll discuss that, Newman, in terms of where I am and the merits of that not actually being the case and making a decision now. Barfly coach, I think it's up to Mowbray, I'm afraid. Remember, he got us promoted from the 3rd tier, 2nd place. Nadeem, we don't have the money to sack him. He'd need to walk. I'm just going to try and get different comments. Alexander Haven, should we be happy that we didn't lose? Simple answer, no. We should be beating Coventry City at home, regardless of your form in the Championship. This is a side that have only won 2 games away from home. So we absolutely should not be happy that we didn't lose. David Stewart, when will we ever win again? Rover American, awful again. M Outlaw, Glenn, you have got a big job on your hands this evening. Glenn is here to cheer us up. So you've got to do it, Glenn, because it's not going to come from me. Michael Pearson, Saturday night Secca. I love it. Absolutely love that. Saturday night Secca. Jonathan, you've got a role in that as well. You've probably just understood what the split in the camp is now. Jonathan and Glenn are going to be the positive ones. Me and Alex are going to be less so positive. So that's the split in the camp that we've got this evening. Parky, where do we go from here? Ben the boss, welcome lads. Not the result we wanted, but sadly the result a lot feared. Poor at the back, simple mistakes and poor passing and seemingly out of ideas. The out of ideas stuff is kind of what's driving a lot of where I am at the moment, Ben. I'm just going to go to different comments as I say. Eugene, we are directionless. Chris, I see you brought 2 Mr. Positives on tonight. How's your bar come along, Chris? Have you built it yet? Have you made some good progress? Let me know. For those of you that don't know, Chris has been building a bar in his garden, making me very jealous. So let us know how you've got on with that one. Someone, he's got to go. We're in absolutely shocking form. If the performances were there, it might be a harder decision, but it's been awful for so long now. He has to go. Glenn, I believe this is your mum. So we like having family members and mums on our show. So Glenn's mum. Hi, Glenn. How are you going to put some positivity into that display? Mum. So there's your challenge. I'll come to you first in a moment, Glenn, and you can answer your mum's call there. Dashcam, the performance was more annoying than the result. Agreed. These comments are flying in and whizzing me down. Glenn Dinsdale, what should we do what should have been done weeks ago? Sorry, that was a tongue twister for me. Does anyone believe TM can take us up to the next level? Tactically inept. John Browning, who I must say is in Australia, and it must be 3, 4 in the morning, John, where you are. Lock him down in Middlesbrough. He can do some gardening there. Chris, Mowbray out, Secca and Entwistle in. Agreed. And Byram, I'm going to finish with your one. Well, hey, you did a watch along and we got an actual point. Yeah, that's the positive I'm going to take. And I'm going to use that positive to then go to Glenn, who is the most positive. Glenn, I'm feeling really hurt after that one, I must admit. I was fired up yesterday after that interview in the Lancs Telegraph and really believed that, he'd kind of, whatever was going on in Mowbray's world, he'd got over that. He'd got over that moping and that different type of interview. This was the Mowbray that I know and love and respected over these few years. He was speaking with passion to Andy Bays, and I thought, right, that's going to translate into a performance on the pitch. Largely, I don't think we saw that today, which is now leading me to a position of, I think he's literally got nowhere else to go. I don't know what else he can do to affect this side. How are you feeling after that game and that performance today?
Well, with the added pressure of trying to cheer my mum up as well, that's a tough one, that, after that performance. Like yourself, I think yesterday I saw the Mowbray interview and I thought it's difficult not to root for the guy when he's that kind of open, he's transparent, he's honest, he's proud to be at the club. You kind of like, you just want him to do well. And I think, give him credit, in the first half, we were very poor the first kind of 5, 10, 15 minutes, and he changed it. And he realised something needed to change because they were all over us, Coventry. And I actually made a note at the time that they created a lot of chances, did Coventry, in that first 15 minutes without really having much of the ball. And I thought, when was the last time we created that many chances without passing it about for 15, 20 minutes before we got it up the pitch? And I feel like that's what we miss at the minute. It's too... I appreciate the possession-based football and I like it, but at times it's too pedestrian. It's too slowly sideways, a bit further forward, back, whatnot. And I think that came to the fore at the end. I mean, I'm going to have a moan about the ref at the end. I thought the fullback for Coventry needed sending off. It was about 5 minutes too late. He should have gone earlier. But I think that worked against us because teams just drop him, build that wall. We then have to break him down. But to play 22 seconds after the injury time, after it took the keeper a minute to take the goal kick and us 40 minutes for Tom Tribal to get his boot on. But in saying that, we had no impetus. They went down to 10 men. It was still slow, pedestrian. Rain Nyambe is getting a throw-in in like the 92nd minute, and it's 20 seconds before the throw-in's taken. Dax dropping too far back, trying to be a quarterback and ping the ball around. Get yourself in that number 10 spot, running into the box onto loose balls and things. I am going to try to be positive. I thought, I'll go back to what I started with, and Mowbray admitted he got it wrong with the start and he changed formation and that worked. I think if we get that second goal at the end of the first half, if Armstrong maybe manages to slot it under the keeper or it hits the inside of the post from Douglas, we go in 2-0 up just before half time. It's a completely different second half. But you come out, you think, get the early goal, have a bit of comfort, and you concede. And then we never really seemed to recover from that. And I feared they were going to hit us on the break. And that was my worry. I'll save my points on whether it's time to change for later on, because I presume we'll come on to that a little bit later. But I thought first half was better. I thought we played with a lot more kind of purpose. We were getting the ball, we were driving at people. I think a lot of that hinges on Joe Rothwell. If Joe Rothwell fancies it and he's had a bit of a rocket before the game and he's driving us up the pitch, brilliant. I mean, Coventry played such a high line that should work into our favour, yet we didn't seem to take advantage of that. It's frustrating.
Yeah, on Rothwell, actually, I think that was the secret to our success in the first half, actually, because he was nowhere involved in the game in that first kind of 15 to 20 minutes. But then he seemed to just work out where the spaces on the pitch were, and he started getting on the ball more, being more in space and driving at Coventry. And it did contribute into that first half performance. Alex, I'm going to come to you next because I'm going to flip between the positive and negative on this panel. I am negative, so Alex is not on his own in terms of the negative tonight. There's a few things we've been hearing all season. We don't score many first half goals. We haven't been scoring the first goal. At half time, Mowbray had 2 golden eggs given to him in that point. We were 1-0 up in a game at home against a side that has only won 2 games away from home this season. We should have got the job done, plain and simple today, shouldn't we?
God, Ryan, I don't really know how to start with today's game. I'm sitting here right now, as bad as I've done in the past 5 games. I don't know if that's a fair feeling to have right now, but that ultimately is my feeling, so I've got to say so. I was really, really disappointed, as Glenn said, with the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game. We were caught completely off guard by Coventry, and another formation change within 10 minutes of the game starting. It seems to be a tombola of how many times we change formation during a match at this point. But I think after that, give Rovers their due. They came back into the game. I think, again, Glenn covered quite a lot here, but when Joe Rothwell plays well, Rovers play well. The issue that Joe Rothwell has is that he's often in and out of games an awful lot, and he probably only has 10 to 15 minute magic spells. And when he is in those magic spells, Rovers can create 2 or 3 golden chances and, push the opposition out of sight, but we didn't really manage to do that. I thought the crucial moment in the game was Barry Douglas hitting the post just before half time. If that hits the inside of the post and curls into the net, you go in 2-0 up and it's a much different game then. I would say we were 1-0 up in the first half. Yeah, we got our first half goal, all being well. But it always felt like Coventry had something to offer in the match. It always felt like Coventry would create a chance. I know they didn't have many golden chances in the first half, but they had plenty of pot shots from outside the area, created little bits and pieces, but never really created anything, substantial. But then the biggest disappointment for me was the second half. I mean, to give the goal away so soon after half time in the manner that we did as well. You know, a high ball, and you know the young lad doesn't judge the ball very well, and you know just flicks on and then the header into the net. So it's sweep it into the net. But the response to going conceding again, we concede. There doesn't seem to be that gear, that extra gear that we go into to respond to that. It almost seems like we take the punch and we kind of dazzle by it for 20 minutes, and to not really force a save from their goalkeeper in the entirety of that second half. When you look at the last 5 games and the form we've been in and how crucial today's game was, you know, Ryan, you said to me on Wednesday night that today was a must-win game, you know, so let's not try and disguise that a draw's a good result today. You know, we all agreed on Wednesday that this was a must-win game. So for a second half and a must-win game to not force a save from their goalkeeper is bitterly, bitterly disappointing. And then, as Glenn said, just the inability to take a throw in. Yeah, I'm really, really disappointed today with that. I don't think I've got anything else to say. I think there's players the players are trying for the manager. These players are trying for the club. I've never ever called that into question. I think it would be very foolish for me to do so. I think in the past 10 years we have had cause to bring that up, you know, on occasion, but not under this manager. These players are giving everything they've got, but there's too many for me that are not performing as they can. And you would have to say that Bradley Dack at the minute is more of a thorn in Mowbray's side than a problem solver for him. And, you know, who would have thought we'd be saying that at this point? But I think that's probably the case. So, yeah, I'll defer to Jonathan to analyse the rest of that game. But, yeah, that's my overriding emotion. It's bitter disappointment. And you look at the next 6 games and the worry does increase. I can't lie to you. You do sort of wonder where the next win's going to come from, especially with the way we've been playing. And, yeah, I would say that wasn't any better than what we've seen in the last 5 prior. We just got the first goal today, and that probably made it more likely we get a draw than a loss. I think if we'd have conceded first today, it would have panned out in a pretty much a similar fashion to the previous 5. So, yeah, very, very disappointed.
So, Jonathan, before I come to you, I'm just going to dip back into the comments. I just want to make sure everyone's got their say, all of the viewers. Barfly, we are in trouble. If not this season, then definitely next. I'm assuming that your autocorrect has let you down there, Barfly. Parky, where is the next win going to come from? Look at our next few games, and I think that that's something that Rovers C's picked up on as well. Where is our next win? You know, what a position for us to be in, thinking about where the next win is going to come from. You know, I never thought I'd be thinking that. Dashcam, the thing is, we have players with skill, talent, and abilities. They seem to lack confidence and drive at the moment. Ryan, sounds about the right word right now. Ollie, doing the ratings is not easy at all after this one. One of the most disappointing results of the season so far, definitely. After all TM has done for us, for which I'm grateful, I think he has to go now. FM, we should be beating Coventry with 2 of their main players on the bench and then down to 10 men. I mean, yeah, I mean, what? When you're talking about golden eggs again, Hamer and O'Hare on the bench, who we pulled out in on the other side as the 2 people, the main people for that side, top goal scorer and top assist maker on the bench. Talk about gift wrapped, you know. So these are all things contributing to my current mindset. Fraser, time to go, Tony. Dan, you'd think Mowbray would be able to guide a defence considering he was a defender. He certainly can't set up an attack. I'm just going to keep looking down the comments. Gary, Keep up the good work, lads. Thank you, Gary. We will do. It's always hard doing a post-match after a really disappointing result, but we'll keep doing it in this way. But your point is, tempo of play and possession, second half not good enough to drag Coventry players out of position and create spaces and chances. Donald, I have the utmost respect for TM, but he's losing the plot. David, I remember the week leading up to Ince being sacked. So much positivity coming out of the club and manager. Ended up losing 3-0 and he was gone. This week feels very similar. I think I'm right in saying that 3-0 game at Wigan was Joe Harvey's first game. Joe, if you're there, confirm whether that was your first game at the DW Stadium for Rovers. I think I'm right in saying that. Ben, TM said the players hate the negativity, but you can't sit there and try and brush the performances under the carpet. I mean, this was in front of fans. It'd be far worse. Yeah, it would. If the fans were in the stadium, I dread to think what was going on now. Michael, the draw feels as bad as the Barnsley and Preston losses. And then I will just go a bit further down. I want to make sure everyone's got their say. Leap year, man. Big thing, lack of leaders and a bit of know-how with a young, talented team, but no defensive spine. So, Jonathan, I'm going to come to you. So you're on the positive side of things. I think the thing I'm most disappointed by, again, is just how that performance has panned out today. As I say, with the stuff that's been said in the press, with knowing the importance of this game compared to the next 6, with the fact that we were 1-0 up at half-time for the first time in a while, how are you feeling after that game? What things are you annoyed at with today's game? What things do you think we can build on? Just sum up your thoughts after that game.
I think firstly, I'd say I'm glad February's over. It's not a month that has been nice to us continuously now for the past God knows how many years. Ultimately, I am absolutely frustrated by that as well, and sort of quite a bit demoralised and despondent, really. Just how things have turned so sour in the last 4 or 5 weeks, etc. I think last time I was on one of these streams was after the QPR, so the first defeat of the last 6 games, and we spoke about that hopefully more as a blip, but it does seem that all these trends are occurring, etc. Still, I thought with today, I was starting lineup looked good, probably best that we could hope for. And Lenihan being back, Brereton starting, potentially a side that could play more on the front foot. So that was good. But then the opening 15 minutes were quite worrying. How easy Coventry got in at will, certainly down the left hand side. It does appear that people are trying to exploit that area in between Elliott and Nyambe a lot more recently, and McCallum's had 2 or 3 good cross shots, etc. But then credit, as Glenn said, we made a tactical change, and Rothwell played much more on the front foot, which he should always be doing. He's such a frustrating player, and the fact that we just utilise him to sit back is just like one of my biggest frustrations with Tony and the side. Is it does feel that he's got them all on a leash, and I just want them to let go, just let them go out there, play, express themselves. But I thought the latter part of the first half was good, better. Good's probably too positive, but it was better, and we got on the front foot a bit more. The players come into the game more: Rothwell, Elliott, Travis, Nyambe. I think it was quite pivotal the last 5 minutes of the first half, and as Alex touched on, Douglas's shot that hit the post was unlucky. He's made a chance out of nothing there. But then the Armstrong chance immediately after, where Elliott's put him in and the keeper's come out, probably a bit overhit the ball. If we'd have got the second goal, then I think it would have been, we'd have gone on to be quite comfortable, because as Alex did say, Coventry, they were always going to attack us. So if we had that second goal, we could have probably got 3 or 4. But second half was just so disappointing. It was like Mowbray said, stay the same. Mark Robbins has made a tactical switch where he's had 2 up front, which is really bold for a team near the bottom playing away from home. Pumped the ball up to the front too. They caused our centre halves so much problems. Branthwaite did really look uncomfortable a lot of the times, especially in the air, considering how tall he is. And the goal we give away was just so disappointing. I think you could argue that we should have put more pressure on the ball to stop the cross going in. And then just how Tyler Walker's got up above Brantford. He was well above him as well. So that was an issue. And the fact that we've just let a midfielder ghost into the box, it was like we were still asleep. So that was a really disappointing start to the second half. But as Glenn and Alex have touched on, we just didn't react. We just looked lethargic. We just didn't push forward enough. I appreciate Travis is not at his best at the moment, but I still thought the tribal on for Travis was a counterproductive substitute. I felt that, again, made us more on the back foot, really. You could have potentially looked at Dolan at that point to push forward. But it's just, it felt like in the last 10 minutes or so, even though they got the man sending off, that we were just quite happy to stop the rot, which is really disappointing. I think it's just really disappointing to see, regardless of the opposition, that we're in that sort of mindset. It was like, oh, let's end this run and we'll try and build again. It's obviously, we've got March is a tough month, etc. I don't know. I probably don't put as much onus on the fixtures of looking at the teams we play, knowing how mad this league is. We've seen Brentford lose 3 games on the trot. We've seen Bristol City lose 7 on the trot and then go to win at Middlesbrough, and Swansea today scored 3 at Swansea today, which is obviously a great result. Reading have been hit and miss as well. So, but at the same time, I can't sit here and say to everyone that we're going to go on a 4 or 5 match winning streak. You just can't see it happen. It just feels so flat and deflating, really. It just reminds you actually of how much football impacts on your life, really, and the mood. And I suppose for me, the thing where I sit on the fence a little bit is that just how bad it was when we rewind to Owen Coyle, etc. And I remember being in that Rotherham game, which was his last league game, and how toxic that got, etc. And just knowing that, I thought we were on a real freefall from then, and how we've sort of turned the club around. Whether you could argue that now is the time to change and give a new manager a go, I can understand people's opinions on that, etc. But is the right man out there? The new manager bounce of Mick McCarthy has been amazing, hasn't it? Nigel Pearson's had it a touch, but as I said before we started the stream, I do feel that our next appointment would have to be really, really vital as well, and we do have to have someone that fits with the ethos of the club and also to work with the owners.
Yeah, and I'm going to move the conversation into that point, just because, I think the game has been a disappointing one, and Dan has found a really intriguing stat. So, excluding the 1 or 2 games we always play in May, February 2021 is Rovers' worst points return since relegation from the Prem, tied with 2016 and 2019. So, desperately difficult February for us. Just to give my views, just on the game, and then just to move the conversation on. If I just stitch everything together, so all that stuff I said about Mowbray in the press, make no mistake, Coventry started this game brighter than Rovers, and we were shocked by that. And it took us 10 to 15 minutes. So I didn't see Rovers on the front foot. I saw Coventry on the front foot. And that, for me, said quite a lot. But fair play to Rovers. We got our foot in the game. We dealt with that pressure. And then we did get the goal at half-time. As I say, we've then got the golden eggs of 1-0 up at half-time and a first-half goal. And you're thinking, yeah, OK, 1-0 is never a safe lead in football. But I was expecting us to fully go on and then win that game, given how the season has gone. Coventry scored that goal, which, let's be fair, it was a defensive mistake from Jared Branthwaite. Absolutely no way should he be getting beaten by Tyler Walker in the air, and he wouldn't have done had he actually jumped to head the ball, but he didn't. He stayed on his feet. Walker nods that ball down. Then Matty James puts it in. From that point, Rovers just did not look likely. We didn't look like we were going to get an equaliser. Certainly when it went down to 10 men, I didn't see any urgency, any fight or whatever. And for me, that just now tells me everything about this manager. As much as I respect him, as much as I love what he's done for the club, he's now tried everything possible at this club and he's not getting the results on the pitch. So I am now firmly of the view that now is the time for change. And I've got three things which are really driving me. So as I move this conversation on, Glenn, I'm going to come to you first. I've got three things. On the Mowbray live stream last Monday that we did, we spoke about the benefit that Graham Souness got in that kind of honeymoon period, as you call it, coming in mid the previous season, getting the chance to eyeball the squad, getting the chance to look at what's going on, and then start to plan for next season. Football clubs don't really get the opportunity to do that because of how cutthroat this division is in particular. But if we look at the table, you know, we are 11 points above the relegation zone and we're 12 points off the playoffs. So very likely we are going to be in the championship next season. We know that. Quite a lot of clubs in this division don't know that at the moment. So we can start to plan actively for next season. And we can get a new manager to come in and have a look and say to Ryan Nyambe, are you staying or are you going? Right, you're going. I'm looking for a right back then. Joe Rothwell, are you staying or are you going? Okay, you're not staying. I'm going to go and look for another midfielder then. So you've got a chance to be proactive and get ahead of the game amongst all these other clubs that are in the championship. And particularly with some of that stuff that Andy has said on his stat show about the EU market closing down. You know, we're going to need to look at these domestic markets and get ahead of the queue with everyone. So that's the first thing. You get a chance to look at the squad. The second thing, what is the risk of giving Damian Johnson the job for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, however long it is, so that we take our time to make the next managerial appointment? Where is the next points coming from under this manager? You know, is Damian Johnson really going to do a worse job than what Tony Mowbray is doing at the moment? And with that kind of lower risk of relegation that there is at the moment, and the fact that we're not just going to fall off a cliff, we've got a chance to just maybe do a bit what Bournemouth have done. We've given Woodgate the job because they're going to take their time a little bit. So I think we've got the time there to just, you know, relieve the manager of his duties and then think about what we're going to do next. And then the third thing is, I've not been taken by any of the names that have been suggested to me so far. But if the Blackburn Rovers managerial vacancy is there, we don't know who's going to apply for that job. We don't know who's going to be available. But if we take our time over it and take 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks and make sure that the right candidate is there, we can make the right decision, which I think everyone agrees on is what needs to happen next. We know that this manager probably isn't the one that's going to get us into the Premier League. So we've now got the chance to make sure it's the right candidate, and we've got time to do that. So I really do think that Rovers can be quite sensible and avoid a catastrophic situation in the summer where we might come 19th or we might come 16th or we might come 14th or whatever that position is going to be. And the manager ends up walking in the summer, and then the new manager comes in and has to deal with Joe Rothwell leaving and Ryan Nyambe leaving. We've got the chance now to give the best manager the best chance of success. So that's why I am in the camp that I'm in now. I'm not doing it to badmouth Mowbray. I'm doing it because I'm already thinking about the next manager and giving that manager the best chance of success. Timing is absolutely, it needs to be spot on now. The summer is going to be dangerous for us. So, Glenn, that's my 2 pence worth. You know, where are you?
Oh, I think that was so ominous. It's gone dark here. I don't know how you've managed to affect the weather there, but I think I found my positive anyway. How are we only 12 points off playoffs? How are we still in that mid-table area, almost equidistant from playoffs to relegation? That baffles me. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about the championship. I think I've jotted a couple of notes down. I think I'd be more open to changing manager now if we had a John Williams at the club. My worry now is we go out, we get a manager, and it's kind of becomes a bit of a raffle. Who's available? Who's cheap? Venky's don't have a great track record when it comes to managers. When they've had their hand forced, they've kind of done an all right job with Boyer and Mowbray, and you kind of got to praise them for that, but there's nothing to say they're going to get it right this time. They're bringing somebody else in now. I completely see your point in saying, let's change it now, bring somebody in, give them 6 months before the start of next season. But are you going to bring somebody in on it to the end of the season deal, and then we'll look at it? Or are you saying, we're all in on you, we're going 2.5, 3 years on you, this is your team now? Because it can work both ways. He can come in, he can assess the squad and say, yeah, you know what, I need a right back, I need a centre mid, these players are going to go, etc. But at the same time, they can come in 2 weeks, this is a bit of a mess, I think I'll be off at the end of the year. And you end up in a Lambert-Coyle situation where you're kind of back to square one, if not back a few places. Yeah, for every Souness, I think there is a Lambert would be my kind of argument for that. As I say, I think the reason I'm not wanting Mowbray out is just because of the lack of a better alternative at the minute, and kind of B, whether we choose that alternative if it was available. Damian Johnson, if we were going to give it someone till the end of the season, I'm kind of coming around to giving it to him, but then does that really change anything? It's the same regime, it's the same coaching staff. Is that just basically say taking it off Mowbray and giving it to almost his right hand man? Not too sure about that. And then contracts wise, I'm not too sure if you bring somebody in now, that's really going to affect that contract situation. I think those players, your Nyambis, your Rothwells and people, I'm fairly certain their mind's made up now. If Mowbray goes, it probably makes a quicker decision. If somebody else comes in, you're not telling me that someone like, I've just seen Tony Pulis' name in the comments, for example. Tony Pulis comes in, Ryan Nyambe doesn't leg it to Ewood to sign his contract, does he? And neither does Joe Rothwell. So you can have both sides of that. I think I'm disheartened by it. I think I'm amazed that we're kind of 12 points off the playoffs. So there's still hope. I remember sitting here, 4 weeks ago, and we looked at the next 6 fixtures, and I said, 12 points out of those, and we've got 1. That's basically what it comes down to. That's not good enough. I'm not sure about Mark Hughes. I've seen that name mentioned. Not sure whether he's good enough for the championship. Not good enough, but whether that would suit his style of play. He should never go back. Although saying that, Mark Robbins went back and looked where Coventry are. I'm just a bit, I don't know. I've always said you're not going to get relegated with Mowbray, and I think I'm still saying that just about. I think the next 6 fixtures have a big bearing on that, which I'm sure we'll come on to later. I don't know. I'm not somebody who likes change at the best of times, but it's difficult. If I knew that there was someone going to make a decision and it would be the right decision, and there was a lot of thought went into it, and there was a track record, I'd be, let's kind of pull the trigger on it. Let's do it. Let's give them 3 months to get it right. I don't know who we end up with, who's available, whether that's the right fit. And then you're looking at, what goes on behind the scenes? How much has Mowbray kind of built behind there? If he goes and his staff go with him, does that kind of tear all that up? You've got Premier League teams will send the players on loan to us, but is that because of Mowbray? If we replace Mowbray with a Pulis, is Harvey Elliott coming on loan? Is that going to happen? And I don't know. I think on Jared Branthwaite, sorry, I just kind of sat back while people had commented, he's just kind of dropped off a cliff for me. Those first 3 games, he looked in the assured centre-half. He made Lenihan better, and then he just looks like, I think the guys in the commentary on the iFollow today said he looked like a giraffe. I'd go one further than that. He looks like a concussed giraffe at times. He doesn't seem to know where he is or understand danger. He doesn't smell danger. And I think for their equaliser today, you can see Kaminski thought about coming for it, and then he dropped back. And you think, you've got a big centre half, just get in front of the player, and he's just completely got stuck under the ball. And there's an element of experience to that, but they're adding up the times we're kind of saying, that's Branthwaite's mistake, or it's inexperience at the back. And it is Mowbray's job to make sure that the defence is experienced enough to get something. I don't know. I'm very splinters in my backside. I'm very much on the fence still, but I don't know. I think if there was a better alternative, I'd be open to it. It's probably where I am.
And I'm just in the position of I'd like to use the fact that there is a vacancy to draw out names that none of us have thought about. The fact it's there and the fact we've got time for the vacancy to be there. We're only on the 27th of February. In theory, we could be appointing a manager this time next month, or indeed the middle of April. And it's still enough time for a new manager just to kind of be proactive and get a feel for the club, understand what's going on, understand the contractual situation, and give them the best chance possible in pre-season. I'm just now fearing a situation where Mowbray walks at the end of the season, factor in the Euros and all of that type of stuff, which will have an impact on the Championship. And we might end up with a thankless task on this new manager with trying to stitch all of that together. So I'm just now at the point where I think we've got a chance. We've got time where clubs don't usually have time is where I'm at. And that's not me being toxic against Mowbray. It's not being toxic against the man. It's just me being realistic about a football club, which, let's face it, is a business. And we all agree that Mowbray is probably not the man to take us into the Premier League. So why not be proactive? Why not just take our time with this? So, Alex, I don't think you're on the fence and you don't have any splinters in your backside. So, with how the result has gone today, and the fact that we've not won that game, How are you feeling about things? How are you feeling towards this manager? What do you think needs to happen next?
I think the moral of the story is that if Ryan Hildred's on your side of the argument, you just pay him to make the argument for you. What I would say about the whole manager situation is why are we sat here right now? Where do we want the club to be? What do we want for the club long term? Does anyone on this panel want this club to be sat in the second division in perpetuity? You know, I don't think so. So in a response to that, well, I would say, well, what is our plan to get promoted? Do you think this manager can get us promoted? Do you think he can get enough out of the players to get us promoted? Or do you think there's a long-term plan in place to put the club in a position to get us promoted? And I would have to say that the answer to both of those questions has been unknown up till the last 2 months. And I think it's become, the word no has just been driving up the horizon ever more clearly with regards to that. So I think your point, Ryan, is a very good one, that football management is a cutthroat industry. Mowbray knows that. When a vacancy becomes available at a championship club, you will get names interested that you didn't expect. I don't think it's my job to advocate the sacking of the manager and recommend names. I think it's, I've tried to avoid that, and I think I will continue to do so. I think it's maybe something to talk about when or if the manager leaves. I think there's no harm in giving Damien Johnson the job until we work out what the hell the club's going to do. I don't think in the next 6 games he can do much worse than Mowbray has in the last 6. He can only do a point worse, so he can't do much worse, can he? So the odds are he won't do any worse in the next 6 if he was given the job temporarily. And like you, Ryan, the big worry for me is that this season's fizzled out. I think we'd all agree on that there really isn't anything to play for now other than the vague threat of being drawn into a relegation scrap, which hasn't yet dawned on the club, but may do another 6 games down the line. But nonetheless, that's not the case at this moment in time. So do you allow temporary goodwill and feeling good from one pre-match press conference to wreck next season as well? I'm very sceptical of that way of thinking and maybe that way of operating. The new manager, whoever that may be, I'm talking hypothetically here, obviously, needs time to assess what he's got. He needs time to assess the squad at the end of this season. He needs time to talk to the players that are out of contract. He needs time to speak to the recruitment team about the players that he wants to bring in. He needs to speak about the players that he wants to let go. He needs to speak about the system that he wants to play. And all of these things that take time, I fear would be needing to be performed in a very constrained summer where you've got a lot of turbulence behind the scenes at the club with regards to the boardroom, the training ground, Ewell Park, contracts, players may be leaving, I don't know. So it's one massive potential disaster that I see next season. Starting out underprepared for next season again would be the worst of all worlds and would be the worst symptom of holding on to a manager for too long. So, yeah, that's where I stand on it right now. I don't think I've minced my words with regards to the manager. I want to just thank him for everything that he's done. He brought the club from being a basket case to being a club that we once again are proud of in many ways. But what I would say is that you can't let this manager undo the good work that he's already done. And what I would say about a lot of the hesitancy around the names being bandied around was anyone on this panel seriously enthusiastic when Tony Mowbray was appointed Rovers manager? He just quit Coventry after a 10-match winless run, and he'd been sacked from 2 previous jobs. So none of us were really that enthusiastic about Tony Mowbray, and he's just been here for 4 years, and some fans are praising him for how well he's done, and I've done that as well at some point. So let's not use the fear of the unknown as the only argument for change, because if we did that, we'd never leave the house. If fear of the unknown ruled our lives, we wouldn't leave the house. And so what I would say is that, yeah, I'm along your line of thinking, Ryan, that we make the change now, we let someone temporary take over, and we work out what the hell's going on in the next 2 months, and we give the new man the last 6 to 10 games of this season. I think that's the only way forward. I think the worst outcome of all would be keeping Mowbray and sacking him a month into next season. That would be the worst of all outcomes for me. So, yeah, we need to avoid that.
I agree with you, Alex. The timing is the thing that is really concerning me the most about all of this. Whether you're Mowbray in or Mowbray out or whatever, actually the common denominator that unites everybody is the fact that who is the next manager? And you can agree or disagree with all the names, but we all agree on the next manager has to be absolutely right. The point you made about, Tony Mowbray when he joined the club, and was that an exciting appointment? Absolutely bang on with that. That is a really fair point, Alex. And some of these names, if they were to take the Blackburn Rovers job, could turn out to be the right manager. And I just think we've got a chance now just to say, and unfortunately for Mowbray, it's going to be building on his hard work. If I'm Steve Waggett and I'm the club and I'm advertising a vacancy, I say to a manager who sat in front of me in an interview, I say, you've got a Category 1 academy with a track record of bringing players into the first team squad. We've developed a European scouting network now, which, Brexit restrictions aside, we've had some joy with in recent months with the likes of Thomas Kaminski. We've got a good, young, exciting squad and some good relationships with Premier League clubs and the ability to take on their loan players and a trust from those clubs to use them. Tell me, manager, who sat in front of me, how you're going to use those 3 things and take Blackburn Rovers forward. I just think we've got a real opportunity here to actually get the right man for the job. A name that none of us has probably ever heard of. It could be a European unknown. It could be someone who's managing in League 2 now. It could be someone who's in Scotland now. It could be someone in the Championship now. Who knows who that person is? But we've got the time now to call the shots and control the timeline and take our time to get the right man. And that is not me bad-mouthing Tony Mowbray. That's just me being sensible about the club. So I just think we're going to lose an opportunity here, and I'm fearful that we get the timing of this all wrong. So, Jonathan, you've been sat there very patiently in the top right. Alex and I have been quite outright in our thoughts about the manager. Glenn, less so and willing to give some time. Where are you in terms of the manager and the immediacy of any change?
Well, I think if it was in a court of law, me and Glenn might be struggling a little bit against you and Alex today, but that's another story. I'm neutral in it as an all, and I think probably over the last 4 or 5 weeks I've thought more about the future without Mowbray than I'd ever done before in his time. It sounds like we're in a relationship there, which we're not, just for the record. But I think the thing that does ultimately worry me is that you've got a really valid point there about taking the time now. We might miss the opportunity. Alex is spot on where he says the worst thing we could do is start next season, lose the first 4 games and then get rid. I just really worry that we've not got the infrastructure at the club to actually replace properly. I just don't feel comfortable that the Venke's, and as much as they've improved over the time and they still keep backing the club, just don't really feel comfortable that we're going to be in a situation where we do that job properly. I have to admit, I was quite open to us sort of exploring the European market, how other teams have, like Reading, Barnsley, as an example. I don't know if that's going to be as easy now with Brexit and EU regulations, etc. Not my strong point, etc. But it's just a real crappy situation, really, isn't it? I didn't think that we'd be having on one of our live streams of conversations this season where the team had gone 6 games unbeaten, where we're looking over our shoulder more than we're looking forward, etc. So it's I can totally understand everyone's points, really, and they're well made, etc. It's the thing is as well, you just can't see us sort of like with all the games we've got coming ahead. You could say, well, actually, if we have a good week, you could get 6-7 points from a week. It would feel a lot more positive. But in this sort of run of form we're in, it just feels like you just can't see where it's coming from at the moment. You can't see us winning. You see, as soon as we go behind, confidence looks low, etc. So yeah, it's a bit meh, really. It's not really answering the question. It's just a bit of a crappy situation.
It is, and I think with what you said there, Jonathan, if that is where the Venkeys are at, this club will have to accept the fact that we are going to be mid-table to lower mid-table with that type of strategy. So, if they've got any aspirations of getting to the Premier League, they're going to have to replace this manager. So, it's up to Venkeys in that regard. Glenn, I'm just going to come to you again, just to go back to the performance today. Is there anything that you saw from the performance today that showed you that this team have had the fight instilled in them, have got the quality to get the results, are going to turn this run of form around, might do something in these next 6 games if Mowbray is still the manager? Is there anything that you saw today that gave you any hope for us Rovers fans? Because I think a lot of us are agreeing that he's probably not going to get sacked. So the conversation we're all having is possibly redundant. So what needs to change over the next 6 games in particular to get a good run of form going?
Right, that is a question, isn't it? It's kind of the £1 million question. How do you stop a slide like we've been on? I think a draw today stops the slide. It's not what we wanted, and it feels like a loss. Again, I kind of come back. There was times in the first half we were on the front foot, we were attacking, we had a bit more kind of purpose about us, a bit more kind of getting up the pitch. I thought that was a positive, and like I said before, if we got the second goal, it plays into our hands if Coventry have to come out on attackers. Looking at the games that are coming up, so we've got Reading away next, then Millwall away, Swansea at home, the Brentford at home, if you want to add that to it. You've kind of got 4 games there where the opposition's going to bring the game to us, in theory. Whether that helps us if we had a solid back 4 and we were playing kind of like we were earlier in the season, keeping clean sheets, maybe even 6 weeks ago we were keeping clean sheets, you could think that might work in our favour. If we can kind of dig the trenches and kind of live out the kind of attack and then hit them on the break, you think maybe we've got a chance there. But what I think I mentioned it earlier, what for me is to create a chance, it seems to take forever to build that chance at times. And that's sucking the life out of me a little bit. No more so than like the end of the game today, the extra time, injury time, even not injury time, the last 10 minutes. It's let's get the ball forward, let's get balls in the box, let's get in and around their box instead of this sideways all the way around to Nyambe. He'll go back again. And I get that when you're 1-0 up or 2-0 up. Yeah, brilliant. I like that. But not when you're challenging to beat a team you should be doing. It's just too slow. We just need to be a bit more dynamic. I kind of had a conversation on Twitter with someone this week about a target man. And I was kind of giving the argument, well, nobody liked Allardyce. And it's like, there's ways of using a target man that isn't Allardyce football. And I'd agree with that. I think we're missing that just get it forward. Like the guy did up front today. I can't remember the guy's name now. I've got a mind has gone blank. Biamu, yeah. Get the ball to him. You win the free kicks. You get the ball in that area. You can get Barry Douglas getting that ball in the box. But we don't really get those free kicks. We're more likely to give the ball away there and get hit on the counter. I just feel like our style of play is too monotonous. It's too easy to defend against. It's too... Opposition drops back onto the edge of their own box, 10 men behind the ball, hit us on the break. It's just that we must be the easiest team to play against. I think where we've done so well this season is where a team loses a man early on, and there's gaps to expose, and you can hit teams on the break. They've got to come out and have a go at you. When it's 11 against 11, we struggle. We just massively struggle to impose our game on the opposition. And we might have all the possession. I know the stats say we're probably better when we have less of the possession. I'm not so sure over the next 4 games that'll show. I think if other teams have more possession, they're likely to win the game against us. And that's a big worry. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have the answer. I mean, I thought Corey Evans looked good today. I thought when he went off,
I thought he did.
Yeah, Evans and Travis looked good. I think that move from Mowbray to kind of push Rothwell up and drop Evans in worked well. He's very good on the ball, Evans. He's a good technical player. Having Brereton back, why we've not had him starting for the last however many games is beyond me. I'd give Tyrese Dolan a game. Just instead of asking him to come off the bench with 5 minutes every week and go make something of this game. Remember the beginning of the season when he was, how good's Tyrese Dolan? He's going to be the next big thing. And all of a sudden, Harvey Elliott comes in and it's, oh, sorry, Tyrese, you're on the bench for the rest of the season. But he's a quality player. He gets the ball. He runs at people. He'll move you kind of 10, 20, 30 yards up the pitch in a quick space of time. I don't know. It's a £1 million question. How do you go away to Reading, who've just won again today and get a win against them at a place that I don't think Reading are that good. I think they are there to be beaten, but maybe not so much on the back of games without a win. It's momentum, isn't it?
It is. And just on Tyrese Dolan, you know, you 1-1 at home to Coventry City and you're giving Tyrese Dolan 3 minutes. I just find it baffling. I really, really do. I look at that bench and Dolan was his most attacking option on that bench and he's given him 3 minutes. I find it crazy. I find it criminal, Glenn. And it's this type of stuff, you know, no matter how much Mowbray overcomplicates it with the formations, no matter how much he gives me passion in the interviews before this game, everything he seems to try at the moment is not resulting in what we want in terms of results. And that's why I am where I am with my position.
I think with Dolan, he'd be on before Dak for me at the minute.
Yeah.
He's more likely to change a game than Dak. Dak comes on and he just tries to do too much. He drops all the way back to take the ball off Lenihan, and we don't want you there. We want you in that 10 position, running into the box, not having to bust a gut for 60 yards to get on the end of a cross that might not come. It's just get yourself in and around there, like against Birmingham away, and when the ball drops, you're there to hit it, not to run 40 yards, take a touch, get your breath back, and then try and do something. I love Bradley Dack. He's a fantastic player, but I'm not sure where he fits at the minute. And I think come the summer, that'll be an easier question because I think there'll be more holes in the team for him to slot into. I think we've had this year of Mowbray kind of playing the possession football, playing Armstrong up front. I think Armstrong's gone now. I hope I'm wrong, but I think we should be building for next season. And that should be, let's get Bradley Dack, our best player, in his best position to be as effective as possible. And the way I see it, I think Dolan's just going to be the replacement for Elliott at the end of the season. And I'd be frustrated if I was Dolan. Just kind of, as I just said, you've got 5 minutes to go change a game, but you might not even touch the ball. That's my frustration.
And when you're talking about opportunity, you know, there's another one. A new manager comes in, accepts the fact that Adam Armstrong's going to leave the club. What an opportunity you've got to give a new manager a little bit of money. And this is Blackburn Rovers that doesn't have a lot of money and we don't have a lot of cash flow. That's an opportunity to spend that money right and possibly get the right target man for Bradley Dack to then feed off next season. You know, these are all things that are in our control at the moment. So, you know, it's just strengthening that. Alex, I'm going to come to you. I'm just going to scroll 2 things on the bottom. Tony Mowbray has come out into the Lancs Telegraph and said a few things in his post-match with Rich Sharp, but I've taken a couple. One, we are well short, I would suggest of. I wouldn't say I have a best team because the team you pick is affected by the team you're playing. And then secondly, generally, they're fighting hard, they're working hard, competing in every match. I don't see a team that stopped working hard for each other. So I just want to break this down a little bit with you, Alex. So unless I'm mistaken, that side that went out today, I think we were all fairly positive about in terms of who we picked, the players we had, Lenihan coming back, all of that type of stuff. So I don't think that that's a valid point. The team you pick is affected by the team you're playing. My God, he's just reverting back to that, worrying about the opposition again.
Absolutely.
And flipping hell, Tony Mowbray. Hamer and O'Hare were on the bench today as well. So you don't even need to worry about that because they put their 2 best players on the bench. And then generally they're fighting hard, they're working hard, competing in every match. I don't see a team that stopped working hard for each other. Now, this is twofold for me. I don't doubt that these players want the best for this club, but are we seeing those energetic, pressing performances from Blackburn Rovers? I don't think we are. So where are you on these comments from Mowbray?
This really, for me, sums up Mowbray's biggest problem. Can you honestly tell me that Norwich, Brentford, Swansea, Watford, Bournemouth change their side week on week and formation week on week based on what they think the opposition might do to hurt them? You know, I find it a very bizarre way of thinking. I cast my mind back to a League One game, which in the end we won. I think we beat Bury 2-0 at Ewood in, I think it was February, actually, believe it or not. And we were utterly dreadful that night. Won 2-0. We scored 2 goals in the second half. And he changed the entire formation because he said he wanted to take Bury's right back out of the game, who he'd seen as being a top player and would, he'd probably fit into Bayern Munich's side, if they had a proper scouting network. So it's something that's plagued him throughout his entire time at Rovers, I think, that Rovers have always been at the best when they think about how they're going to hurt the opposition first and foremost, rather than how the opposition's going to hurt them. And I think it's just that psychological switch of the number one on the list of priorities is how do we hurt the opposition rather than how do we prevent the opposition hurting us. And I just think there needs to be that switch in mentality. It's not the same as being cavalier, because I think there's a big difference between acknowledging the opposition have threats and being completely cavalier about it. But it's just switching that mentality of the first thought being, how do we exploit the opposition rather than how do they exploit us? And I would say that post-match interview echoes that fact, that often Mowbray's first thought is how the opposition will hurt us. And I would say that it feeds into my scepticism about his ability to get us promoted out of this division. That, I just listed there are several clubs that, in my opinion, more or less play the same system week in, week out and live or die by it. And they either go on long winning runs, in this case, more long winning runs than losing runs. But yeah, those managers have a philosophy. They stick by it every week. They recruit players to that philosophy. They recruit, they pick players on the bench to come in and impact on that formation, that philosophy. And we just don't have that at the minute. Glenn is absolutely right to bring this up, but it shows where we are as a club. We've still not worked out whether we're going 4-3-3 and playing possession or whether we're hitting it to the target man and knocking it down. We still don't have a clue what our best way of playing is, and we're 31, 32 games into the season. I know we've had injuries at the back. I know we've played so many different defensive partnerships and that, but I don't think any of us really have a clue what our best team is, even if everyone was fit. And that's just a major problem. It's a really big problem. I think what I would say at the end of all of this is that the manager doesn't help himself often, and the manager does overcomplicate things. And I would say it's better knowing Coyle in terms of not doing any shape in the 10 months he was at the club. That isn't a good thing either. Let's not go on this live stream and claim that. But I think what I would say is that, yeah, Tony, we do have some good players at this club. I think some of these players in this squad are good players.
I agree.
I don't think we've got a squad of duffers. I think we've got a squad of good players, and we've got players in this team that can hurt the opposition. So let them go out and do that. Let them go out and hurt the opposition and play to their strengths. You know, if I have to see Bradley Dack playing in the centre circle on the 85th minute one more time, my head will explode. And it already is close to exploding with the colour of my hair, as you can probably see, but my head will explode if I see Bradley Dack offering for another throw-in on the right wing or in the centre circle when we're chasing a game. I think the mere fact of his presence, indeed, between the defenders just confuses them. They don't know whether they have to look for Dack to pass into Dack to then feed somebody else. It just slows him down. It just overcomplicates things again. And I don't really know what else to say other than that. I think I've given a pretty confused and mangled answer to a pretty confused and mangled question and circumstance. I think the manager's brain is as mangled as mine at the minute. So don't hire me as manager. But yeah, in all seriousness, yeah, he does overcomplicate things, and yeah, I think that's where if we cut to the chase and we probably say where is Mowbray's biggest problem come this season, it's that it's been the constant chopping and changing, it's been the constant overhaul in match of a complete formation change more than once in a game, and then 4 subs at once, and then changing the whole midfield. And yeah, it's just been a mess from start to finish, hasn't it? You know, when we look at it, it's been a complete and utter mess. And there's no surprise that these players haven't got familiar with each other and been able to play with each other and play with that zip that you need to create chances. It's all very laboured and it's all very complicated. It's all very muddled. And, you know, if I want to draw a crisp analogy to finish off, because I know you're a big fan of that on the live watch-alongs, it's like opening a packet of sensations and realising there was a hole in the bottom of the packet all along when you take the first bite and they're stale. The whole thing is just stale. It's just very stale at the minute, this club. The whole thing is stale and there needs to be a bit of a change. And you know what happens when you have a stale packet of crisps? You throw them in the bin. And yeah, I don't think that analogy needs any more explaining.
I love an analogy because my old boss was the king of analogies and he used to have me in stitches with analogies. So you're pushing at an open door with that one, Alex. Jonathan, before I come to you for the final word, I'm just going to come back into the comments before we seek to end the stream. Barfly, Mowbray overinflates the opposition. Kevin, when he's talking about Mowbray, saying about the fight in the team. What fight? Their fight today was non-existent. 10 minutes to go against 10 men, and we didn't get near their goal. What team is he looking at? He certainly hasn't been watching the game. Imran, Mowbray will always be middle of the road. If we have a relegation squad, he'll keep us mid-table. If we have a promotion team, he'll keep us mid-table. Not right for current journey. Chris, you still haven't told me how good your bar was unless you stuck it in the comments earlier. I want to know if you finished it. We're at home to a team flirting with relegation, balls to their players and focus on how we're going to hurt them. Yeah, and he has just always overinflated the opposition and worried about them too much. And as Alex said, we've got a cracking squad of players. You know, you don't get Harvey Elliott every day of the week playing against you. Let's go and use that to our advantage. So, you know, Reading, for example, are using Michael Olise to their advantage. So, you know, these are things that I'm just... Yeah, Mowbray's just overcomplicated it. And then Scotty, I have the same views as Alex there. We should be playing to our strengths and not the opponent's strengths. To our strengths and not the opponent's weakness. Sorry, I couldn't get my words out there. So, Jonathan, I'm looking at these next fixtures then. Reading away, Millwall away, then 3 home games, Swansea, Brentford, Bristol City, followed by Norwich away. Regardless of who the manager is, let's just take the manager out of the equation for the moment. We are where we are in the table, 12 points off the playoffs, 11 points off the relegation zone. To make sure we don't get involved in a relegation battle, regardless of who the manager is, again, let's just take that out. How many points do we need from these next 6 games out of those 18 points to make sure that we don't get involved in a relegation battle?
That's a tough question. I think, what are we? Are we 9 or 11 away from the relegation zone? Though I think
11, yeah.
11. I think one of the teams has got a game in hand, haven't they? Rotherham got a game in hand, I think. So
if Rotherham were to win their game in hand, they'd go to 32 points, which would put us 8 points off the relegation zone.
Yeah, I think realistically, what would 50 points is normally about normal for safe. I think we've got to be looking at a couple of wins, 7 to 9 points realistically, just to make it not be a situation where we're really, really looking over our shoulders.
So if I then stick with you, if we don't get those 7 to 9 points that you talk about, and then we're thinking about April, if I just whiz forward onto April's fixtures for Rovers, we've then got Wycombe away, Bournemouth at home, Cardiff away, Derby at home, Sheffield Wednesday away, and Huddersfield at home. You know, if we haven't got the points that you desired there, which I think a lot of people are thinking we aren't, in April, are we well and truly in a relegation battle? And, you know, is Wycombe Wanderers away necessarily the easy game that we think it's going to be with our run of form? Is Derby County at home, who are going to be probably in and around us in the table, necessarily an easy game at home? Is Sheffield Wednesday away, who are certainly going to be fighting relegation, an easy game away from home? It is Huddersfield Town at home, who are going to be down there in and around us, necessarily an easy game at home? So if we don't get those points you said, do you think we have to be careful this season?
Yeah, to be fair, if anything, going on past history in the Championship, sometimes it's actually better to play the teams at the top towards the end of the season rather than the teams at bottom. And we've probably got the complete flip of that in some ways with some of the teams you've mentioned. So, yeah, we've got to be really careful of. It's just, obviously, it is concerning when we've been on these runs before, though I don't think we had an equally bad one when we first came back into the Championship with only, 1 win in 11. It is just so concerning to see where the next win's going to come from, where we're going to pick it up from. We sort of need just a bit of luck where one comes in off someone's backside in the last minute and we take an undeserved sort of 3 points, etc. Yeah, we've seen it happened last year. I've mentioned it myself on past ones when we was looking up rather than down about how close Hull were to the playoffs and what happened to them. And they lost their 2 best players. Supposedly we got our 2 best players back in Dak and Travis in January. So personally, and I'll probably get shot down for this like I have with most of my comments this evening, I don't think we're going to get relegated. I think it's just going to finish up a mid-table security. And then when mathematically we can't make the playoffs, which will come sooner rather than later, we'll have a strong end to the season, which we always do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I am looking over my shoulder a little bit now at the results. You know, sorry, Rovers fans, for presenting an element of negativity and pessimism. You know, let's just say we do get 2 wins from the next 6. Let's stretch that out over the current run. That's 2 wins in 12 games. And then you're coming up against those sides, as I say, in Derby, in Sheffield Wednesday, in Huddersfield, who are going to be wanting to make it safe for themselves. Then if you go into May, Rotherham away and Birmingham, who are also going to be down there. I said this on last week's stream. We've just got to be extremely careful now and make sure we get the results. So I think, Jonathan, you're right. If we were somehow able to get 7 to 9 points, that would be absolutely signed, sealed, delivered. If we could somehow get 6 points and end March with 46 points, I'd like to think that with the remaining games, we're then going to get the required points to then get us over the line. But, you know, if I'm just hooking this back to my previous kind of discussion and the thing that I've said today, what is the risk in changing the manager at this point in time? Is it, if this is the way we're talking about results, you know, what is the worst that Damian Johnson could do at this point? What is the worst that a caretaker manager could do at this point? I just, for me,
in the next 6, Ryan, only 1 point worse than Marlborough.
Yeah. Like,
so
that's it. So, you know, I just think the club has got a real opportunity now to actually make sure that we don't do what we've done in previous seasons and we don't fall off a cliff. We had that playoff push or just outside the playoffs in 14-15 And then it was the beginning of the end, which led to the relegation in 16-17. I really want us to bridge into next season and feel like we're going into next season on the front foot, where we've done our dirty laundry early and we're not scratching around like these other clubs that have just been relegated from the Prem or having to have a bit of a clear out because they're going to breach FFP. I want us to just feel like we're in a nice, stable position in that pre-season, because I really think we can take advantage of an opportunity there. So, Glenn, I'm going to give you the final word, because I want us to go into Saturday night positive, because I'm not feeling positive and I don't like it. So, come on, give me some reasons before we finish this stream. Give me some reasons to be positive.
We've already got 40 points. That's probably as positive as I can be to start with. Just 14 games left.
Glenn, we're not in the Premier.
But no, let me finish. So we've got 40 points. There's 14 games left. And what do we reckon is going to be enough to stay up? I know this is a depressing way to finish, but 3 wins is probably going to be enough, isn't it? 4 for sure, probably. I think somehow, this is difficult, this. I'm saying somehow we'll win 3 or 4 games. I'm almost talking myself into Ryan Alex's side of the argument of change the manager now. It's it's difficult to take any positives when you look at those fixtures. I've written them down and I keep looking at them and kind of starting sweating. It's just the tough games. They're all teams with something to play for at the right end of the table. And the more this run goes on, the more I'm looking at Hull last season, and I'm looking at that and thinking, don't be Hull. Just whatever happens, don't be Hull. What I really wanted to have happened was our bad run to have come to an end today. You get 3 points today. You can then build on it. And like you say, you kind of build towards a positive end of the season with the momentum for next year. But at the minute, I feel like if we are going to get 3 wins, it'll be 2 losses, a draw, a win, 2 losses, a draw, a win. It won't be 3 wins on the bounce. It'll be nicking 1 here or there. And I don't like Jonathan said, you're playing teams at the bottom who have something to play for, and teams generally someone gets momentum at the bottom, don't they? Whether it's bringing in a new manager or something, and it just gives them that boost. It's difficult where we are. We're kind of sleepwalking our way through the season. I don't know. It's I seen a comment on there that says about we should have changed Mowbray before today, and I think I mentioned that on a previous stream, that if you were going to change him, do you let him take the flak for the last defeats and then give the new manager today as a bit of a new manager bounce? But I don't think Coventry were a very good side today. I thought they played tactically, they were spot on. I don't think giving a new manager, giving Damien Johnson that job today, the outcome would have been any different. And to a degree, I have a little bit of sympathy for Mowbray as well, in the fact that Armstrong misses a penalty at Forest. If you get given a penalty on this run, you've got to score that penalty. Today, you've got the chance. I'm not blaming it all on Armstrong, but you've got the chance he misses before half time. You've got the effort from Douglas. You've got the mistakes at the back. And I know Mowbray picks those players, and it's his job to pick the best team, but he can't legislate for some of the mistakes we've made, some of the soft goals that we've conceded. But at the end of the day, it's his job to pick that team. I personally don't think I'd be playing Branthwaite midweek, but then do we want another change? Do we want to put all the numbers in the raffle again and pull out that 11? The worrying thing for me at the minute is, what's the starting 11 going to be midweek? Can anybody accurately, with any confidence, say this will be the starting 11? And I think ultimately that is the problem. The problem is he's got too many options. He doesn't know who fits where. It wouldn't surprise me if Amari Bell comes in at left back and we start with Stuart Downing, yet they were nowhere near the team today. And that's my problem. He's never really picked an 11 and stuck to it and said, when all you 11 are fit, you're my starting 11. And a lot of that's down to injuries at the back. But midfield, attacking, we've had the chance to play our best 11 and he's just not played it. And that's my frustration. And I've seen the comment. I think my spirit might be broken now. I think I'm struggling to find the positivity. But
I noticed that as well, Michael. So it has broken Glenn's spirit, because I was looking for a positive comment and he's not done one. Just a couple of things on what you've said, Glenn. I do think Harwood Bellis will start the next game. I've seen enough of Branthwaite now. If Harwood Bellis is as good a footballer as Manchester City fans are telling us, he'll be able to play left centre back. You know, if he's going to go and play for Manchester City in the Champions League, like Lewis and Jordan told me on the show, he will be able to play left centre-back in the Championship. Make no mistake about it. So let's not worry about the fact he's not paired up with Lenihan right. If he's good enough, he can play in that position. So I think now is the time to get Harwood Bellis paired up with Darragh Lenihan. And then just, in terms of the run, Glenn, and the points and all of that, make no mistake, if Blackburn Rovers are going into the final 4 games against Sheffield Wednesday, Huddersfield, Birmingham and Rotherham, needing a win or 2 to stay up, that is going to be extremely difficult for us. So it's imperative that we do what you said and get those 3 or 4 wins over these next, however many games that is, 10 games, 3 or 4 wins over the next 10 games to make absolutely certain of that. But yeah, Glenn, I've picked up on your lack of positivity. We've broken him, Alex. We've done it. Just Jonathan Secker to work on now. But no, Rovers fans, let's not sugarcoat it. It's not been a great day today. We were hoping that this stream would be we've got the job done. Let's look forward. Let's see what we do next. But it's not worked out that way. Just to go back to the point you were saying, Glenn, I absolutely agree. Sacking the manager before this game was not the thing to do. Don't be giving a caretaker manager this job or Damian Johnson this game. This was the result to get out the way now. We've seen what the result of this is, and we've got an opportunity in front of us. And that's now where I am as a fan. So let's just see, can we get the wins that we need? Can we stop this season becoming a disaster? Can we actually use our heads a little bit as a football club and see ourselves over the line and, start to think about next season and start to understand what's going on at the club and give the new manager the best chance of success? That's what I'm thinking now. Making the right choice now gives that new manager the best chance, because we're all in agreement that this manager is not the one that's going to get us promoted. So got a golden opportunity to do the un-Blackburn Rovers thing under Venky's. We can make a sensible decision. So that's where I'm at. And that's not me bad-mouthing the manager. That's just me being sensible about what's staring me in front of the face. But hey, reminder to all Rovers fans, if he's not sacked, if he's still our manager, if the results keep going bad, let's not make the situation toxic. I know that is hard. I really know that that's hard, but we somehow need to support this club in the virtual way that we're all doing at the moment and just hope and pray that we get over the line. So let's try and not make it toxic, because Tony does deserve more than that. We can pick his faults as a football manager, but as a person and as a man, as he spoke in that interview yesterday, you absolutely cannot question that. He wants the best for our football club. Whether what he does to get the best for our football club is the best at this moment in time in terms of professional managerial ability, that's up for debate at the moment. But in terms of him as a person, he absolutely does. So I just implore everyone just to make sure we don't make it toxic, and let's just do it in the right manner and stay dignified and do it in the right way. So that's all we'll say. We'll stick in it together. Jonathan, Glenn, Alex, thank you for joining me on this post-match. For me personally, it's been the most difficult post-match live stream, because I've tried to do everything as balanced as I possibly can. But I think that I've well and truly nailed my flag to the mast tonight in terms of what I've said about the manager. So thank you for joining us and giving your views on the show. Cool. So Rovers fans, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that you see when all of our videos go live. And please give this video a like and all of our other videos a like as well. We're always pushing that video content out. Thank you. I'll bring this up again to all of you that have done the super chat facility today. FM Works, Michael, Jack, Matthew, Michael, Captain Charisma. I think that's an old one, actually. The other one should be somewhere. Here it is. I'm going to bring up the one that was actually from today, which is FM, Ben the Boss, Michael, RJ and Callum. Thank you all for your super chats and for supporting the channel in the way that you do. We really appreciate your support, and we'll, as I say, keep bringing that content and hopefully see a win on a watch along, hopefully see a win on a post-match live stream. We will get there eventually, I promise. Quite when it is, I don't know. It's a bit like when the lockdown's eased. We will be in a beer garden at some point. We will be back in a football stadium at some point. I just can't tell you when. So that's where we are with these live streams and everything. But Jonathan, thank you for joining us, mate. You have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Alex, for joining us as well.
Thanks, Ryan. It's just a poignant moment, isn't it, for everyone, with it being a year since nearly everyone last went to a Rovers game. So, yeah, it's a poignant weekend. But, yeah, hopefully we'll be back soon.
That's it. Yeah, I didn't go to the Derby away game. So it is my anniversary on Monday. Even though it was the 29th of February last year, my anniversary is Monday, the 1st of March, for when I was back in Ewood. Glenn, thank you for joining us as well. You tried with the positivity, but me and Alex dragged you down, so I'm feeling quite proud.
No, thank you for having me. Thanks, everyone, for your comments. I do find it's very therapeutic after a game, and it's good to chat through. So thanks for hosting as well, Ryan. Cheers. Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, have a good night, everyone. And thank you all for your interactions this evening. Thank you all for your kind words and your kind support. Please do try and salvage a Saturday evening as best as you can, even if Rovers are doing their best to poo-poo all over that. We'll go again. We'll be here in midweek, ready for that game against Reading. But until then, stay safe and have a good rest of the evening. See you later. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.